Welcome back to Take a Seat. Today I have a phenomenal guest. She's been selling Jordans on Instagram.
When lockdown happened, I started a small customizing Jordans Air Force business, which served me quite well. Pretty quickly realised probably made a couple £100 profit on every shoe. I made about 15 grand off the back of it in about 6 to 8 months kind of time frame.
She does all the deal sourcing.
Got a project of my own, which was a rent to rent. Spent about 10 grand. Lived in it for weeks with kind of no hot water, heating, sleeping on the floor. It performed really, really well. And then I got a letter saying, you can't Airbnb in this building. About 3 or 4 refunds went out at one time at 3 grand a pop. So that's 9 grand plus the 10 grand I've just invested there. I've got 20 grand down. It's like, oh my God, I've lost everything. And I remember crying.
But tell me, why Newcastle?
Naturally, every area has a boom. Now, when I first came up to Newcastle, it was quite flat. Every year, every couple months, crane. More skyscrapers, more buildings, more apartment blocks. You know, I know people who they bought up in specific areas in Newcastle 20 years ago. They were buying houses for maybe 40, 50 grand, probably way less. They're not worth like 700 grand, these properties. One thing I say is the most important thing is to invest either where you know somebody has a knowledge of your area or where you can have a knowledge of your area. So why Newcastle is because...
Welcome back to Take a Seat. This is the #1 channel for mindset and motivation. We've created this channel to inspire the next generation. And everybody wants a leg up. Well, first of all, let me say I've just created a 7-step template on how to get into real estate. So just head over to seanland.co.uk and you can just download that right now. Not only that, I've created a brand new webinar to show you how I went from 0 to 10 million. So just go to the Learn section, click on webinar, and you can watch that straight away. Now let's get back to today. Today I have a phenomenal guest. She's been selling Jordans on Instagram. But not only has she just made £15,000 and spending it on luxury items such as cars or handbags, she's actually invested. And not just invested in something else outer, but she's invested in herself, which means today she's running a very successful business. She does all the deal sourcing. She's running projects, creating more value to houses. And not only that, she's taking the headache off landlords by managing all these assets. I want to hear all about it and what made this woman. So please welcome Adriana.
Thank you very much. Hi, Sean. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm buzzing to have you here.
I'm excited.
Yeah, you're the queen in the northeast of England at the moment.
Yeah, representing the northeast.
Come on. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm excited. Yeah,
Yeah?
it'd be good to get into it. And
Yeah.
talk all things property.
Come on, man. Well, first of all, I just want to say you're everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, it's been busy. It's been, busy few months.
How important is sort of networking to you? Because I've seen you at a coffee meeting up central London. I've seen you at a few parties and stuff. Like, do you like getting about?
Yeah, do you know what? I think networking's so important. I think if you want to build a brand and you want to be able to have that influence and get yourself out there, it's really important to be in as many places as you can be.
Mm-hmm.
But also the people that you meet there and, you know, what you learn from. So if I wasn't doing that, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. We wouldn't have come across each other. We wouldn't be able to discuss, you know, different investment strategies, how things you're doing in Dubai and, you know, everything. Putting yourself in a room is what then leads you kind of to the next stage. And also I live in the north. So when I can come down to London, the events are cool. The events are better. You meet incredible people down here. So I try to come here as much as I can whilst keeping control up there.
Amazing. Look, for somebody who's sitting at home right now and saying, look, I'd love to be a part of what you guys are doing, or I'd love to be part of the conversation. How do you find out about all of these events that are happening in London?
Social media is a big part of it. You know, you get to know kind of who's kind of becoming within your circle in the industry that you're in. You guys are speaking to each other, but then also everything's being promoted on social media. You don't have to scroll very far on Instagram if you're following people of influence to find out, you know, where are they going? What are the good events? So I would just say, if you are using social media for the right reasons, you will know where these things are happening for example. And if you are making good connections, you're going to get invited to these events.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And I also like the fact that you've just touched on something very important in the topic, which is social media. You know, social media can be quite toxic. It can be a place where you can spend too much time endless scrolling. Like that algorithm knows you better than you know
Yes.
yourself. Its main objective and target is going keep Adriana on here. So if you like Italian food or some of like the property projects, it will keep showing you because it wants you there. What do you think of social media? And like, you know, it must take a lot of balls to come on social media because people are objectifying you. People like you're even a pretty girl.
Thank
But there's gonna be a lot of guys who'll be like, you know, sending you funny messages, you know,
Yes.
like, you know, how do you embrace the whole social media? How do you look upon it? How do you treat it? You know, and how do you not let it bring you down as well?
Yeah. So I would say it's kind of a two-edged approach. I made the decision from day one of going when I starting my property journey to set up a page that was going to have me, that was going to be branded as myself, but that wasn't the Instagram I've had since I was maybe 15 years old.
Mhm.
That's seen me through uni, that's seen me through holidays. That's private. That's kind of locked away. You know, I've got friends on there, people I've grown up with, and then my business page is my business page, and therefore all the content on that is business related. And yes, it shows events and it shows fun, but it's showing my professional life
Right.
with elements of my personal. Do you know what I mean? So because I'm separated that, I think that has made it quite clear to the world that this is what you're going to get here. And if people
Right.
do contact me through my personal, I tend to just say, look, if you want to speak, let's talk through that page and kind of redirect people. You do get idiots on social media and you do get people who are inappropriate,
Mhm.
but I think if you're putting out good content and you know you are active on social media, the good outweighs the bad. And also when people are having comment wars, we all know that helps anyway, doesn't it? So yeah, I just think you've got to kind of keep a strong head with it, know who to respond to, know who to not get involved with. The guy with no picture that's private, that's got 3 followers.
Yeah.
Just
That's a troll.
yeah, exactly. Just let them be, move on. Yeah.
What's it like being a woman in the real estate industry? Because predominantly real estate is a male dominated industry.
Mhm.
Do you find it harder to get into rooms? Do you feel that you're treated differently at all?
It's a really difficult question to answer that. I do believe it is harder. However, for me, I think because of the way I am and my personality, because I make myself, I like to talk, I like to chat, I like to have a conversation. I can hold my own in a conversation.
Mhm.
So I think once you get past that initial phase, you know, if there is that awkward conflict on the front end, once you can move past that and people can see exactly what you are doing and who you're about, you are going to be in them rooms if you are bringing the right value. And at the end of the day, it's another hurdle that you get past that makes you smarter, makes you better. I'm not really one to kind of let something like that phase me. You know, last night I was at an event, I was talking, I was the only woman on the stage,
Yeah.
which to me, it was really nerve-wracking at the start, but I was there and I was there for a reason. You've got to remember that sometimes. So yeah, I just think as long as you put in value, you can push past that, and it's only going to make you stronger.
Mm. How do you celebrate that? Like being the only woman on stage, like, yeah, you might have been a little bit nervous at the start, but at the end of it, you're like, I did that. I was the only woman up there. I've been in this industry a very short amount of time. I'm getting on some big stages. How do you celebrate these small, small wins?
Do you know what? I don't. I'm really bad for it. I'm always focused on what's the next thing, what's next, what's happening. I should more. I should reflect more and look back at it. But I think it's in the way I am. I know I'm not where I need to be yet. Do you know what I mean? And it keep pushes me forward. So as much as yeah, okay, I feel like I held my own. I feel like I did well, and it was good. I don't really kind of sit back and take a minute to go over what's just happened, if that makes sense, in all honesty. So, yeah.
Where is that end goal?
Do you know what? I'm not even sure I can fully place it. because it's almost so far away. I feel like I just have to keep going, keep pushing to the next level of succession. Obviously, my career is down the property route. So for me, it's building up the developments, scaling up the developments, coming, a major landlord, doing much larger projects and at bigger scale than what I already am. Obviously, increasing the financial goals, making it so that my life can have a passive income effect. I'll never stop working, but to build out my passive income coming in from obviously a portfolio that's then going to allow me to travel the world as and when I want. That's kind of what the next goal is to get to.
Mm. What do you say, like devil's advocate? People say it is important to celebrate your small wins because, like, happiness isn't a destination. It's small little things along the way. You've got to treat yourself, and in terms of like, if you're just thinking that money is just going to get you that lifestyle that you want, but you get there, you might not be happy.
Yeah, do you know, I completely understand that, but I love what I do. I love my business of what I do. So, yeah, I don't necessarily sit back and think, oh, wow, I've just done that. That's really cool. But I'll wake up early in the morning and I'll get back to doing exactly what it is that I do and the main bread and butter of my business because I love it. And that keeps me going, that keeps me hungry. And I guess that's a celebration that I keep getting to do what I'm doing. And yes, of course, you do go on the holidays and you do get yourself nice things, which makes you feel good. But it is ultimately, I'm doing it because I enjoy it as well.
Mm-hmm. How did you know property was for you?
Do you know, it sounds kind of cliche, but always from growing up, I kind of want to go down the property route. I want to go down the property route. How's that going to look? As soon as you see that element of success or, people who have real wealth and the ability to do all of these amazing things. Well, if you look at the majority of them, they've got a portfolio of properties. They've got that investment. So naturally, I was always kind of drawn to, I want to go down the property route. I want to do that. My parents, they took the similar route of going down the entrepreneur route and trying to get into buying it, but it took them. I mean, I think when they first got a mortgage, they were 45. They were old. They were renting until they were able to get a mortgage because they chose the entrepreneur route. So I think I've kind of always seen that, and then the stability that they can bring when you do buy it and things like that, which I think has probably played a part in wanting to go down the property route as well.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back in time before we go through all of your HMOs and also all the projects you're doing right now, which is all really exciting. Talk to me about 10-year-old Adriana. What was she doing? What did she like? Where did she want to play?
So yeah, I mean, my upbringing, it was good. It was amazing. My parents, I'm from a big family, Italian family. Well, my mum's from Bolton, but all my dad's family live in Italy. So family's always been really, really important. Growing up, I've got 3 sisters. So we're a household full of girls. We're all pretty close in age as well. And yeah, life was good. My parents were working extremely hard all the time, seeing them go from kind of my father moving over from Italy when they were in the 20s, setting up a business, kind of trying to grow out from there. So my dad's been at work probably most of my life, but everything that my mum and dad have done was always for us. Mm-hmm. So I've had a really, really good family structure around me, which has been amazing.
And were both parents working?
Both were working extremely hard.
In the business or separately?
In the business, both of them. So their trade was in the restaurant industry. So when we were young, they were both working in the same restaurant. My dad was a manager. My mum was waitressing in the restaurant whilst raising the kids. We then moved house, probably moved about an hour away from where they were originally based. And they then rented a restaurant, but it was a whole build. They basically did a build on a restaurant. So they fully renovated it, fully excavated the outside. But in order to fund that, they had to then rent a chip shop the next door to it. Mm-hmm. So the setting kind of was, in the day, Dad would be on the building site, creating the restaurant. Then in the evening, they'd both be working in the chip shop. And then my dad would go back to work after that. He'd sleep on one of the booths inside the restaurant and then start again the next day. So you didn't see him for, I don't know, I think it took them maybe 5 years to kind of get this project done.
Wow.
Which is a long time. Mum would be at work. She'd also be looking after us. And it was just this like constant cycle of them just working so hard to make a success of their life. So whenever they had anything to give us, it come to us. And, you know, where they were living and things like that. So it was a small house. It was a small little rental, a bungalow, 2-bed with 4 kids. But my God, they made us feel like we had everything. And I don't know how they did it, but they raised us to feel like we had everything. And we didn't at all, but because they were so passionate about the kids, and anytime they did, they'd give it to us. Yeah, I think that kind of raised us all to be very ambitious.
Mm. I mean, like in that sort of circumstance, what I want to say is like some kids can feel like my parents are not there for me. You know, you said like for 5-year period that your dad's going to work really hard.
Yeah.
What instilled that he's doing that for you? What reinforced that? What made you feel that guy is out there for me and not for himself?
Whenever you see him, like whenever he'd have a night off, we'd all spend it together, and we'd go and do silly little things like going for a KFC and going to the movies, or like playing out on the trampoline together. But when he was off and when he was at home, and exactly the same with my mum, their time and anything they had was ours. And then so you knew. Now I think I understand it so much, and I definitely have got more of a understanding for it over the last few years, is because I am going down the entrepreneur route. So I understand the working of the long hours. I understand why they're doing what they're doing. And I have so much respect for how they've done that maybe if it wasn't always clear at the time, even though I knew it, but I think, that would be really cool if we could go out as a family together on a Saturday night and go for a meal. You know, like you see in all the families do. But I understand it, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how the hell did they do that and have 4 kids on top of it and make us feel like that, like we have everything. So massive motivation to me.
So tell me more about your first side hustles. Like, you know, did you start working in the family business? Did you start doing other things? Like,
Yeah.
Because I see you highly motivated, and a person like that doesn't just like wake up one day and go, I'm just doing a property course and I'm doing that. It's something that spurred that on.
Yeah, 100%. I actually remember my very first shift in the restaurant. I must have been about 13 years old, I think. And I was driving with my mum. My dad rings up, goes, Carolyn, it's really busy tonight. I need some help. She was like, right, okay, we'll just bring Adriana in. She can just wash some glasses at the back. I mean, I was 13 at the time. Anyway, I got there, and within about half an hour, I'm sure I was pulling pints. They were good. And I did a pretty decent job. I was kind of enjoying myself. And then they'd start to introduce me to the regulars, like, oh, this is our daughter, Adriana. And I'd go out and I'd start speaking to people. And everyone was handing me 10s and 20s. And I was cleaning up because they were giving me tips. I'm boss's daughter, so you ultimately have that, like, you know, when you go and you're talking, you get your cute little smile on. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I can make some good money off this. And yeah, I was back in there all the time after that, on weekends. And obviously, as I got older, then it would become a part-time job. So sort of, you know, through college, I was always in there on a weekend, always speaking to people, because as when you have your own business, it's really hard to kind of have that trust in people and to trust that people are going to do the job like you can. Now, my dad kind of saw, you know, how I would interact with customers. Obviously, it comes over the years as you get better at what you do, but how I would interact with customers, how I would take care of it as if it was my own. And so sometimes he wouldn't be there and I'd be left to kind of, you know, run the place, make sure things are happening. So yeah, that was really fun. And I learned very quickly how to communicate with people, you know, how to upsell, how to make people feel good, how to just deal with a problem. And I think honestly, I think it's probably the best thing that I ever did. It gave me that foundation to be able to communicate and to know how to speak to people who were many years older than me. Because that's something that I do now as well, with being quite young still. I'm up against people who are maybe, you know, 10, 20 years further ahead than me in the property industry. And I do have to be able to hold my own. And I think it was working there that then enabled me to do that. So yeah, that was my first job.
Important thing, did you get to keep the tips?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Your parents were like giving away? Nah?
No, I definitely got to keep the tips. I had like a little jar in my bedroom and I'd just slot my tips in every night. So I was saving like £400-500 at a time.
Wow.
I was buying myself. I was a kid, so I didn't have any expenses. I was going buying myself nice little things. I was treating myself, nice shoes. I've always liked nice things. So it was pretty cool to be able to buy that for myself. Even like within my sort of college days and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of, I think, what sparked it all.
If somebody's watching this right now and says, do I go to uni? Because uni is not the most cheapest thing to do, you've got probably about the best part of £30,000 to pay.
At least I've got.
Like, would you say it's worth going to uni?
Do you know what it is? When me going to uni, I would never change that. As much as I haven't used my degree, as much as I don't need a degree, and you don't need a degree to be successful, absolutely not, unless you want to be a doctor or you want to go down one of those traditional routes, a lawyer. I'm from quite a small town, so going to uni, I met so many new people, I met so many new connections. I was living on my own, so you grow up a lot. You become very responsible for yourself if you go about it the right way. I got involved with quite a lot of extracurricular things, that made me realize I wanted to be an entrepreneur and go down my own kind of business route. So for me, I would never change it, but it's not necessary to be successful. Absolutely not.
So alongside uni, what else was you doing? Was you doing any jobs?
I did a little bit of part-time work whilst I was at uni. Again, just went down the same restaurant route. But I did... when lockdown happened, I started a small customizing Jordan's Air Force business, which served me quite well.
So how did that all work?
So essentially, it was a trend. Do you remember like lockdown time? Everyone was getting really creative, weren't they?
Yeah.
So essentially, I was just scrolling Instagram one day and I was like, oh, they look pretty cool. It's just a pair of Air Force, just painted up. Nothing fancy, just like the ticks. I was like, oh, they're pretty cool. I might do some of those. I've always been kind of creative, not artistic, but creative. It's like, oh, I'm really finishing uni now. I'm going to order a pair and see what I can do. Ordered it, did them. They were all right. I did a decent job of them. Put a picture on my personal Instagram story. And within a couple days, I had a few people like, oh, can I have a pair? Can I have a pair? Oh, can you make me a pair? And I was just about to graduate uni. I was kind of in the middle of doing my final assignment. I was like, oh, I've got all the free time in the world. Now it's lockdown. I could be here for months. Like, yeah, of course you can. Pretty quickly realised I could probably make a couple £100 profit on every shoe if I was pricing it right. So yeah, I started doing it and I started doing that business. The Instagram page grew pretty decent. I think got about 4,000 followers, which for me at the time was quite good. And I was churning them out like quite at scale. Did a couple hundred pairs in my time, I would say. I don't know the exact figure. I wasn't really on it with the accounting, but yeah, I made about 15 grand off the back of it in about 6 to 8 months kind of time frame.
How did that feel?
Pretty good. It was kind of nice. I was really good though still at putting that money into a savings. So I'd still be around all my mates and be like, yeah, I've got no money either. Yeah, I'm skinned. But nice to know that in the back of my head, I've actually got a bank account that's, it's got 10 plus K in, which was quite nice to think about.
Like, how do you stay humble like that?
Because that money's not going to last forever. 10 grand at the end of the day, yes, it's a good chunk of money and I can have fun with it. And yes, I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I sat there. Like I said, I like to treat myself and do fun things and go on holidays. But that money's not going to get me very far if I just spend it all.
And like, with having that money saved up, like nobody really teaches you money management. No one teaches you how to look after your money. How did you know?
Again, do you know what? It probably kind of goes... So the entrepreneur route, I've always followed that. I've always looked at it. I've always been very drawn to that. So I've always understood to make money, you've got to invest money. But I'll also say part of it probably comes back to my parents again. I think, not meaning to, they've probably taught me a lot down that route. So my mum's she's always stored money away. for when she needs it. And because she did that, that's what then elevated their property journey. It enabled them to buy their building at auction because she'd stored that money away. So I realized, put it away, keep it for when the time's right, and then invest it in the right thing, which you might not always get right, but at least you've got the idea of doing that. You can't go far wrong.
It's amazing. You've had a good mentorship and guidance, right?
Yeah.
They put the belief system in for you. So you've got this little bit of money stacking up. You've graduated now. What next?
What next was, do I travel? I want to see the world. I still want to do it. Do I just spend it, go traveling, the kind of standard next route after finishing uni, I guess? Do I buy a house? Because I was also working part-time at this point. So I spoke to a broker, got like a decision in principle. I was like, okay, got 10 grand, 10% deposit. Maybe I'll try and buy like a 50, 60 grand house in the north, because I was still living in Newcastle at the time. Spend a bit of money, live in it, and that's how I'm going to get into property. Realistically, 10 grand is probably not going to get me very far there. So option 3 was, do I go and get mentorship? Do I go and do some form of training? Thank God I picked that option.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been in this situation. Or who knows how it would have happened. It probably would have taken a lot longer.
How much did you pay for your mentorship course?
So in total, probably, I think it was about £9,000 altogether.
And for some people, they say that's a lot of money. That's almost a deposit somewhere up north. How do you make that right? What do you say to combat that?
Again, 2 reasons. A is, I had the belief in myself that if I am putting all this money that I have just worked my ass off for the last, however long it's been, if I invest every single penny I've got, I'm back to basics. So I seriously need to figure out what I'm going to do. And I believe in myself, because you're not going to invest that level of money in yourself unless you have that belief, no matter how small it is, that in your gut or in the back of your mind that you can make it happen. I did it, and I'm not afraid to take a risk, kind of thing. And I think if you want to be successful in this industry, you do have to be able to do it, albeit calculated. I knew I was young. I could move back in with my parents. I could move back home. I could work part-time in the restaurant. I'm not going to have the money that I did to do what I wanted, but I'm going to be all right. So it was calculated, but it was a risk. It was everything that I had. I actually had a bit of money in crypto, to be fair. I was looking down that route in Ethereum.
Yeah.
And I pulled it out. I pulled every penny out, to be fair. And I probably would have been off a decent amount now. But for me at the time, it was all I had access to, so it was worth it. I didn't want to borrow money. I didn't want to go down that route for myself. I didn't want to take it off my parents, because they were family's kind of skeptical. And I think it's that thing of, don't necessarily borrow money off of family if everyone's not fully in support of it. I didn't want that friction there. I wanted to be able to say, this is my vision, I'm doing it, I'm going to make it happen in my time, kind of thing.
Done it off my own back.
Yeah.
What was your family saying when you were doing these courses? Did they think it's a scam? Did they think it was good, bad, ugly? What?
Yeah. So when I spent, to be honest, they were probably more worried when I spent the first 2 grand. So I went on a free training day, then spent the 2 grand on the course to go for the 4 days. And then I was there at the 4 days. I then signed up for a year of mentorship, which I then put the remainder of the money in to kind of get the full year. After the first 2 days, you're like, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done with this money? Like, you're being crazy, because they've seen it come and go. So they're like, just be smart. You've got a law degree. Go and do something with your law degree. Have a safe career, and things like that. So yeah, they were more shocked on the first one. On the second one, they were like, oh, well, I can see you're kind of interested. You're going to do it anyway, clearly. So good luck. We'll support everything that you do, which I was very fortunate for.
What's the biggest thing you learned in your mentorship? Was it this magic pill that just made it happen for you?
No. No, it wasn't.
Some people also just think, I've paid for this course, I've just got to be here and my life is going to change.
It's not it. Easy come, easy go is what I always say. If something comes easily, it's probably not going to stick around for long. And I learned that. I learned that within my first year. But my first 6 months were really tough. I struggled to make money. I did, in all honesty. I was in my overdraft. I then did have to borrow some money off my mum. Just a little bit to kind of keep me going. I was working back in the restaurant again. But I was still out there. I was still doing deals. I was still, trying to do deals. I was still going on as many viewings as I could get my hands on, whether they were bad, whether they were terrible, whether they weren't going to work. I was learning to understand the space, what to look out for, how to speak with agents, how to act like I am going to buy this property, how to put an offer in, and then actually answer the phone when the agent rings back to say it's been accepted. Because I've done it before where I put an offer and I've got it accepted. The agent then calls back saying, they just wanted a question off me. I panicked. So I let the phone go and I kept letting it go and I lost the property for it. So I learned very quickly what not to do and what to do. But I think the biggest thing that my mentorship taught me was to absolutely never give up. Never, ever, ever give up, because winners never quit and quitters never win. That's the one, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
So when did you actually do your first sort of deal after doing your mentorship? You've done your training now. When was that first deal happening, and how, do you need money for that first deal, or how did you go about it? Did you become a property entrepreneur or investor first, or what route did you take?
So first up, it was how do I get cash flow, because I've not got any money now. So to do that, you've got to go down the kind of deal sourcing route or the low ticket entries, such as the rent to rent options. You've got to find a way to make that work. So I tried deal sourcing. I did. Struggled at the start because I went in looking for BRRs straight away. And I sit on a deal for a month because I'd run my numbers so much and I'd be so scared to put this deal out. But also I wanted to prove I could sell my first deal on my own and not co-source it and not do any of that. It had to be me from A to Z. Again, stupidly, it was probably a bit egotistical, I guess. That it took me a long time and I was sitting on things and I was missing things. So that took probably longer than what it should have done. But still, took me to the last hurdle. My first deal was actually on a rent to rent. It was a joint venture. Met some guys at the networking event. They said, we found a property. We don't have the time to manage it. Let's go 50-50 on putting the money in. We were really lucky because it was already furnished. The landlord had already ran it as an SA. They just didn't want to do it. They were from London. They didn't want to bother with it. So we had to put about $2,000 each in. Not bad, $4,000 setup fee. Liverpool city centre, literally right by the cathedral, really good location. And I was going to manage it. And I'd done the training, so I was able to say, yeah, do you know what? I feel like I can do this. I'm going to learn on the job. I did have to borrow the $2,000 in all fairness because I hadn't made any money yet. But I took it as a loan. I took it as, I'm going to pay this back. So yeah, that was my first deal. It was the rent to rent one. And then because of that, because I was doing it, because I was putting myself on social media, even if I was just putting stuff on now that I'd look at and think, oh my God, why'd I post that? But you've got to start somewhere. You've got to be crap to get good at the end of the day. So yes, that was my first deal. Posted it. People understood I was then doing rent to rents. And therefore, if I was finding a rent to rent, I could sell a rent to rent because I can understand it. And I think you can only sell what you know, which is why I then waited to go down the BRR selling route, because I had to get versed in property. I had to understand the dealings and that side of things and the negotiations to then lead me down the BRR route. So yeah, I then started to make a little bit of money doing that. Did some deals, lost some deals, got some secured. They weren't actually as secure as I thought. Lost some money again, made some money, kind of backwards and forwards like that for a while. Got a project of my own, which was a rent to rent, Manchester city centre, incredible location, nice property, needed a lot of work. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. I'd sold a couple of deals before, so I kind of had the money to then put into that. Spent about 10 grand, lived in it for weeks with kind of no hot water, heating, sleeping on the floor, really like hustling it. Like, I am going to make this work. And I'd done about a month it performed really, really well. And then I got a letter saying, you can't Airbnb in this building. The head lease doesn't permit for it, X, Y, and Z. I'd rushed into a deal because I was so adamant to prove I had to get a deal done. I rushed into it, bypassed that, just thought I'd check, move on. Turns out the landlord and the management company were scam. They were scam. They didn't care. They knew that I should never have done that. Whole debacle kind of kicked off. They put new tenants into that property when I wasn't there on my 10 grand's worth of furniture and renovations, and the tenants are still sitting there to this day, and I can't get access. And small claims court took forever, still going through, not happening. So that was my first bad deal.
Oof.
And that was my first deal, and it was a bad deal.
That was quite a big failure in a way. And a lot of people would have just went, right, fuck this. Not for me now. I've just got burnt. See you later. But you're still standing here.
Still going. Everything went wrong at once. Everything went wrong at the exact same time. So I lost that. I then sold a couple deals thinking, oh yeah, I've made some money now. This is good. This was whilst I was also doing this property. So everything was coming together for me. And then the deals fell through. And I had to refund the investors. Well, I refunded the investors because for me, it was reputation. So that happened. About 3 or 4 refunds went out at one time at £3 a pop. So that's 9 grand plus the 10 grand I've just invested there. About 20 grand down. Shit. I was like, oh my God, I've lost everything. And I remember crying. Like I was really, really, really shaken and upset by it. And then I just picked myself back up. And I mean, it took me a day or two to kind of pull myself back together because that was my first proper ruffle of the feathers, so to speak. And I just kind of sat back and said, well, look, I've got 2 options. I'm not technically bankrupt. I don't owe anybody money. I've not really got much money right now, but I've got a good reputation. And so I went back out and I started over again. I did it again. And I kind of just let the SA thing just fizzle, put that on pause, and decided, right, now it's time to go down the BRR route. Now it's time to start sourcing these projects that are tangible, you can hold on to, and really kickstart that side of the business up. And yeah, that's kind of the lessons I learned from the failure was probably what kickstarted my whole career, I would say. Yeah.
How do you stop yourself from beating yourself up?
I think there's an element of that. You know what I mean? I was annoyed at myself and I was wound up at myself for sure because I did some stupid things. I bypassed some things. But exactly like I said before, like I don't necessarily celebrate the wins, I don't also get caught up in the losses. It's inevitable. It's not an easy industry that we're in. It's not. The only way that you are going to have real wealth is by messing up a few times and by, things getting taken away from you and things going wrong, and you have to learn them lessons. And that was what most people were saying in property. When you really get into it and you start to listen to actual people who have been around in property for a long time, most people have lost and most people have made mistakes. And, you listen to so many people in this space and like, oh yeah, I messed up on this refurb. I did this and this refurb. I'm suing this builder for this amount. I'm doing this here. I lost this. These projects aren't working. Everybody's had these failures. So the sooner you realize that having a failure doesn't mean that you're bad and you don't deserve to be there. Having the failure and getting back up off it is the reason why you'll succeed. And I think the more wealth and the more success to be had from something, the more obstacles are going to be there. And I just kind of had that always in the back of my mind, again, probably from my childhood, from seeing it with my parents and seeing business like that. There was always just a voice in my head of, just do a bit more, just do a bit more. And now if something goes wrong, you're like, all right, cool, what's next? Or right, cool, well, let's solve that problem. Let's not panic. How do we deal with that? We do that. Okay, cool, move on. And that.
So you also said that you joint ventured with somebody to do a project in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn about that scenario or situation? Would you be doing that again? Is there anything you do differently? Because certain people come together and it ends up in fireworks.
To be fair, we don't have that business together anymore, but it wasn't for the reason that we're still friends. You know, we're still friends. They're cool. You know, I've got a lot of respect for them. We have gone different routes in the industry. I pulled away from that deal, in all fairness, because I was managing it. But I was up in Newcastle now, and I was doing BRRs heavily. I was sourcing this heavily, and I wasn't giving that the time it needed. And because of that, I then said, right, guys, you take over, you do it. I'm going to step back because this isn't my passion right now. I'm not getting excited about it just purely because it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's got their own thing of what they enjoy doing. I'm 2 hours away, so if the cleaner's not right, I can't go and check in on it. I can't turn up after every clean and say, oh, I like this. And I've realised a lot of people who are successful in their industry of anything, it's on your doorstep, your project. You know, you can go around and you can check in. It's much easier to manage. So what I learned on the front end of that was never tie yourself in on the front end to longevity. As in, okay, we're doing this one deal together. It doesn't mean we do every deal together. Test the waters, you know, let's try this deal out. Let's see how we go. Let's work out what our escape is. If it's not working, what procedures do we put in place for that? And do it like that. And now, for example, my most recent joint venture, we've got a contract that goes into the bitter end. And I feel good about it because I know this business relationship will either last a very, very long time, which is the plan, or we part ways and it's going to be really amicable because everyone knows where they stand already. And I would say now going into any business decision, I'm going to spend those couple grand up front or whatever it is on solicitor contracts to get to the bottom of it and, you know, have everything tight and sealed for sure.
So how do you know how to negotiate? Sometimes
I think a lot of it's common sense. A lot of negotiating is common sense and seeing the bigger picture. You know, my friends always get really annoyed at me because if we go out together and I will barter for a discount, I'll try and negotiate a discount. I always will do it. It's just in my blood. It's who I am. It's probably from seeing, again, my parents, seeing my family, from being around that environment. My mum, she's a bit of a hustler as well. She's not afraid to sort of say it. So naturally I will, and I'm not bothered because at the end of the day, if you're respectful about it, if you're not walking in like rude, if they say no, cool, move on, fine. We did the deal. I didn't get what I wanted, but we did the deal. Or in a smaller sense in business, you know, if you don't get what you actually need for it, fine, walk away, move on. Next problem, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's probably where how the negotiating starts. It's common sense.
Yeah, I can relate with that one. I think my dad had a corner shop and I'd always help out in the corner shop and serve and learn interpersonal skills, communication skills, a lot. And when I ever used to go shopping with my mum, it was her mission to save as much money
literally
as possible. She'd have that shopping trolley and I'd always have to carry the bags of a militant woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, Dad's only given this money, we need to get this. I almost thought discount was an Asian word.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, discount. I was like, yeah, what, they use that in the English dictionary as well? Yes. So tell me, how did you get into the place where you are? So you're all over, plastered all over social media, you're on site, you know, all I see is you doing loft conversions, plasterboarding, pink plasterboard, fireboarded, everything, and you're in the hot mix of it all. What's yours? What's your clients? What's your role? Tell me what's happening, because like social media shows you little clips and little reels. I want to know the big picture, what's happening, because if I've got a bit of money, we'll go more into the area that you've invested or you're growing into. But I might have a quirky 100, 150 lying around and I'm not getting the returns in London now, you know, so I might want to give you a little call and say, hey, Adrian, what's happening there? So tell me a bit more about yourself now, what you're doing and how that all stacks up and works. And why would I invest with you, you know?
Okay, cool. So you want to be sold to. So I'm based in the north.
Yes.
And my business model is essentially sourcing, but then also offering an end-to-end service on that sourcing. So I source BRR projects, so rundown projects that we can renovate and then turn into high cash flowing assets. So be that multi-units, be that flat conversions, existing flats that we're renovating, making new, obviously then getting double rent on the property, be that small 4-bed HMOs up to the sort of going through planning 8-bed all ensuite properties. That's what I do. So I source that. I source it for myself, source it for my clients. I then run the project management and run the refurb on that. And then I work really, really closely with the big lenders who are able to give us the valuations we need on these projects to then see the client through from A to Z. The strategy that we do is only possible by having the right people around you. Well, you can learn it, but it's much easier. Like, for example, if we're leveraging off commercial valuations, we need a broker that understands commercial valuations and can then get you those valuations on the project. Or, if we're doing HMO conversions, we need a build team that is going to understand the regulations at what we need to do, that's going to follow through with, okay, well, this is an 8-bed, so we've now got a fireboard everywhere. We need to make sure that happens. We need this level of this grade of fire alarm system in this property, and this and this. We need smoke chambers in our 8-beds and not in the others. So it's really important now that I've built a team around me that also understands what I do, because I can't be everywhere all at once, but I can be there to check in and make sure things are going along. So essentially my business model is, okay, we find projects, analyze them, run all the numbers on the front end. Again, like you said, okay, you've got 150. We run the numbers with leverage off of bridging finance. I understand how that process now works. And we then source the project, follow that through to completion, providing, everything that client or myself needs, such as the surveyors, the architects. We're going through auction. Okay, well, we need to do this on the front end of the auction, solicitors, etc. Right the way through to then the project management, starting the builds, running the build through to completion, liaising with, of course, building regs, HMO licensing, things like that. Run it through and then giving it to management on the back end as well. So it is a fully hands-off service, which a lot of my clients like, because either they don't have the time for it, they've got their own business, they live down in London, they don't know who to go to in the north to do it. So yeah, that's essentially the business model now. And from learning that, I'm then able to build out my own portfolio. So my project at the minute is the auction project, 2 flats. We bought it for 110. Was bought for 160 about 10 years ago. I got it for 110 because it was repossession and 14-day completion. Who can complete in 14 days? Not many people. So I saw that as this is an angle, I'm going to take it and I'm going to get a good deal. So that's my project, spending about 50 grand on the refurb. It's going to be worth 215 to 230 when it's done. Refinance that, pull out all our money, pretty much everything. The idea is to pull everything out. If not, we'll pull out the majority of it anyway. Keep hold of the asset there, rent it out, just get normal, maybe SA, maybe just go normal tenants, rent that out, probably get about £850, £900 a flat a month, keep building that out. The money that comes back out goes into the next project. So I can now build up my portfolio. Other projects is 5 different conversions going on at the minute.
Wow.
Yeah, all HMOs.
How do you keep on top of that?
I've got a really good team of builders. I've got 3 different build teams on the jobs at the minute.
How do you trust these builders? How do you know they're not going to pack up and leave?
Yeah, reputation.
How do you give that confidence to people who are trusting you totally? And how do I know not 1 minute it's 3.5 grand for electrics and then, oh, sorry, it's 4.5 grand now?
Mm-hmm. So obviously I've done quite a few of these projects now. So we, between us as a company, have a standardized spec of what goes into this job. Now, I was having this conversation yesterday about how, you deal with the price and make sure your builders are good. Firstly, they came from word of mouth reputation. So when we first started out in the building trade, word of mouth reputation. Who's doing it? Who understands HMO conversions? Got our first build team. They're great. He's absolutely fantastic. So used him. Luckily, I got off with a good builder, meaning I very quickly realised how the industry standards should be. Now, when you can say to a builder and you can say to a team that can do the job, I've got another 6 coming up this year. Do you want them? And then, oh, well, yeah, I can take these 3, but I can't take them. Okay, well, I need the next team to come in. Oh, well, you guys have, so our next build team, we've almost created, because there were lads we were using. One's a plumber, one was a sparky that we were using on the jobs. So some of them I manage myself, as in bringing all the individual trades in. And when I'm bringing individual trades into a job, you can very quickly say, oh, I like these guys. Oh, I'm not too keen on them. These are good. These guys have got subbies who they're bringing in with them. They're working. So you can start to kind of create a team yourself, which we have done. Those guys have now joined forces. They're doing 2 projects for us. They're great. And then my other builder, we are working on quite a few that he came recommended through my mortgage broker. Well, a broker I met at a networking event. He called me up one day and said, I had a client going through with some jobs and with some projects he was going to buy. His bridging's taking too long. Do you think you or your clients would be interested? I was like, oh, yeah, cool. That's fine. I ended up speaking to him on the phone and we got on really, really well. But he just kind of, he passed me the projects and he went, yeah, cool, you take them. That's fine. Brilliant, brilliant deals. But because I could see he was a cool guy, he's done that as a favour. We've then talked, we then ended up doing a lot of work together now, and I've seen a lot of his sites. So everything for me is built on, how do your jobs look? Can I actually get on with you? Can we have a good conversation and are our visions aligned? Are you looking to extend this long term? And who are you recommended by? And that when you start to piece all of that together, you then get a pretty good idea of who you want to work with. But I do have to say, and hopefully this doesn't come at a demise, but so far I've been really lucky with the trades. Had a few difficult ones, obviously, but I got on top of it very quickly and realised, okay, no, let's, on the next fix, let's use someone else. Pay you for your time, guys. Brilliant, thank you. We are going to now step in with someone else to do it.
Is your HMOs any different than the normal standard? Are you going in lower entry, box standard, you got your room and that's it? Are you going in en suites? Are you coming in with technology where, in terms of, some people even go to the lengths of putting consumer boxes in every single bedroom for the circuit for your sockets and your lights, thumb locks, to try make it easy for the landlord or the person managing it and make it passive as possible. What makes you guys different? What do you add? What do you include? What don't you?
Yeah, so all our HMOs, well, I say not all of our HMOs, anything definitely 5, 6 and above, anything 6 and above particularly, is all unsuited property. Everything's brand new. Individual consumer boxes in all the rooms makes life easier. Intercom, we're having intercom in our properties now. We are putting, obviously, full brand new throughout the properties, en suites in every rooms. Different areas, we're doing slightly different things. Some might have tiled bathrooms, some might have cladded bathrooms, some might, slightly different standard in different areas, depending on what your client base is, because there's always a ceiling price. And that's what you've also got to factor in on your build. We get different yields in different areas, and we get different rents in different areas. And we know this property might be worth 240, so we can only spend this on the refurb. But we know this property might be worth 320, so we can spend more on the refurb and we can tile, because we're going to be able to get that valuation. But as a standard, it's unsuited, full back to brick refurb, rewire, brand new door throughout, fire doors everywhere, everything within HMO guideline spec as well, in order to get the license. But yeah, it does slightly vary between the two, but everything is brand new. And at the end of the day, for us, building a reputation, people want to see quality products. I want that landlord to come back to me when he's poured his money on a refinance. They poured the money on the refinance. I want that property to last, so that you're not getting calls and you're not getting headaches. And you want good tenants in them properties, because the better the tenants, the better the rents, the better the valuations, the better the cash flow. Everybody's happy. And sometimes you don't always have to spend an extra 10, 20, 30 grand. You don't always have to spend an extra 20, 30 grand on a project to take it from here to here. It can be, little things you're doing, exactly like we said with the fuse boxes and all of that.
How much do you end up spending more by adding these extra little features that create them little barriers where, it's a little bit more passive?
Yeah. I mean, as a standard, probably all the properties do have the basis that they need to be a good spec. The difference comes more in kind of, the intercom, which you put a couple grand on for an 8-bed, for example. Tiling the ensuites adds a couple grand to the job, obviously, but it does look better than cladding. What flooring are we going with? Are we going with a vinyl? Are we going with a laminate? Things like that. It adds a couple grand to the job. It might add about 10 grand. Are you going for a fully integrated kitchen? All them different things. But a lot of it is planning out for that on the front end that then makes everyone's life easier as well. Have an average good spec, have a very, very top spec. Now, what we're pushing a lot more now is obviously making sure that we are doing. That's wrong. We have always pushed the good spec. All our jobs always will have that really good spec, and it's got to the point now where even building regs, they love coming around because they love seeing the project. It's like, oh yeah, you've done it again. I love that, and it's not, on the first inspection they're very meticulous and another one, guys. Oh, that looks mint. Yeah, I'll just have a quick wander around, and they're happy because they know we do things good. So that builds trust with clients. Clients coming up and seeing our jobs, that builds trust with clients. Got a lot of content I can show to people. That builds trust. Again, my face is all over social media, so I'm not trying to mess somebody about. I'm there. It's hard to run away, isn't it, I guess? So all of those things, yeah, kind of combined.
How do you handle pressure?
I'm quite used to it now. I'm used to the pressure. I'm quite good under pressure because if you're at a deadline and you need to get something done, you do get it done. And things are kind of sitting in the background. That's not. You need pressure, I think, to grow and to when everything's easy, when everything's going easy. I know that something's going to come, but I know it's going to teach me a lesson. Now, at the start, when things used to go wrong, it was probably before my BRRR time. I'd get really, really upset because naturally I like to keep everybody happy. I like to keep people happy. I like to keep people sweet. So if something goes wrong, I got really, really worried about it. Whereas now I've learned, don't panic. Think of the solution before you have to kind of, go forward with it. You've got a problem. There's always going to be a way around it. And I think part of that as well comes from having a good team of people around you. I couldn't do this if I didn't have a really solid team around me. And it's even things like with architects, you might hear one thing from one architect that you think, oh shit, it's really, really bad. But they might not actually know everything at the end of the day as well. And you might speak to the next person like, no, that's incorrect. So it's always about making sure that your knowledge is as good as it can be, or you've got multiple people you can soundboard off to come to a solution, if that makes sense as well.
So tell me, why Newcastle? What's happening in Newcastle? What do you know that I don't know about Newcastle? Now, the only thing I really know about Newcastle, I believe, uh, the Middle East have bought the Newcastle Football Club, and maybe that might bring some people over. And no matter what area they go into, they revamp it. What other things do you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so that's a massive factor of it. They've not just bought the football club, but they're buying hundreds of millions of pounds of houses throughout the northeast, which is bringing mega, property increase prices into the area. Naturally, every area has a boom. Now, I'm from Manchester originally, well, nearish Manchester. So I saw the boom happen there. I then studied in Newcastle. Now, when I first came up to Newcastle, it was quite flat. Every year, every couple months, crane, going up. More skyscrapers, more buildings, more apartment blocks, more investment, more companies, more restaurants. There's more life coming to the city all the time. And for me, again, on a common sense perspective, what does that mean? It means that the big guys are investing in an area, means there's something happening, there's something coming. If you look at the councils or all the local authorities in the area, there's major regeneration. They're pumping millions of pounds of things into, we've got two really big unis in Newcastle, two major unis in Newcastle, and you get people from all over. You've got areas where, I know people who they bought up in specific areas in Newcastle 20 years ago. They were buying houses for maybe 40, 50 grand, probably way less. they're not worth like 700 grand, these properties, because there's such a student demand market that go in HMOs. The assets are appreciating. It's got some really beautiful areas, but it's just about knowing the right strategy for that area. So we cover the majority of the northeast, do some of the north, and every time you go into a new area, you need to kind of assess that area. What's happening with the council? What's going on? What is my working population? What's the average class in the area? What's the average incomes in the area? What does this area need? Does this property need to be a 6-bed all-ensuite HMO, or does this property need to be a family let and we just do a nice refurb to it and we're going to get some good tenants paying some good money? Or does this need to be an SA because we've got a real big contractor base here? And it's one thing I say is the most important thing is to invest either where you know somebody has a knowledge of your area or where you can have a knowledge of your area. I have a lot of people that have said, oh, I'm going to go buy in the north, it's cheap. They've gone for the cheapest house and they've not made money on it, because not every single area is going to have that same boom, and just because it's a cheap house doesn't mean it's a great BRR. So why Newcastle is because you've seen the peak, it's coming up from London, and it happens over time, and everything's flowing up the country. So I've seen Manchester, and yes, Manchester is still rising, but I think we're starting to see it flatten, whereas Newcastle is going, and it's going strong. Prices are increasing, prices are rising, there's a lot more investment coming in. I mean, I saw a property yesterday at auction. No, 2 properties we were looking to bid on. I knew what was going to happen. I think there was like 150 bidders on one, and like 70, 80 on another, and one of them was on for 70 and it went for 170.
No.
Yeah. Now, for me, living there, I knew that wasn't going to work for my strategy at that price. It was way over. But for someone else that's quite happy to leave X amount of capital in the deal or whatever and go in the long term, yeah, amazing investment. It's a cool project. But you can just see the demand. You know, I've done it a few times in a few auctions where I'm going in, I want to buy it at X, and at the last minute someone comes in and they put another 25 grand on it. I know it's still going to make money though, just I wasn't prepared to, that wasn't right for me. But I know there's still money to be made, and there's some really, really good pockets of the northeast that are affluent or are becoming very much so in a short space of time.
What are some of the hot areas?
Well, I can't give too many things away, but yeah, no, we focus in heavily kind of around the Newcastle area. Darlington's good, Sunderland, you know, all the main areas of the northeast. But you have to know the market. You have to know what's article for. You have to know what selective licensing. You have to know what you can touch, what you can't touch.
I've heard like you can invest in one end of the street and it's completely to the other end. Is that right?
Yeah, things change very quickly. I don't know so much down here how true that is, but things can change quite quickly in the northeast. Yeah, you can. I mean, we were looking at one last week. So that house, the terrace and the street goes all the way up to big semis, and the price is completely different. You know, you can be over 150, 200 grand out. So it can be hard to place if you don't know. If you're looking at a quarter mile radius, you know, the standard where you go and right move 2.5 mile radius, you can get it really wrong really quickly unless you know, and unless you're speaking to the right agents who you know are on it and who you know are honest. Which is why I always say you need to know your patch or have someone that does, and which is, I guess, the confidence that my clients get when coming to work with me. I'm no more than half an hour away from any of the sites. So I'm always active. I'm in every single area at least once or twice a week. So yeah, it's important.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing all that. I've noticed quite a little bit about you as well. Like you're very motivated. You know, you're quite a hustler. You know, you've worked in your parents' businesses. You know, you've made trainers when the whole country's shut down. You still had a way to make something. You've hit certain failures and deals that have gone wrong, but you've still persevered and pushed through. Where does that come from? Where's that thing like?
I don't know. I think it's just part of me. I'm not going to lie. It's just in there. I know where I can get to and I know what I can do. And I think knowing that and just having that kind of undying belief, even if at times you might not always feel it, it's always there. It's always at the back of my mind. And because of that, it always enables me to kind of push on.
What spurs that belief? Where does that belief come from? Are you trying to prove something?
I don't know. Possibly. That's a really hard question. I don't know. I just know it's there, but I know it's serving a purpose. And to me, maybe I don't need to look into it too much because I'm happy. I love what I do. I'm good at what I do. And I know there's so much more I can do. You know, if you're enjoying the journey, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not working because I am. Not everything is amazing. It's not always the most fun thing in the world to be doing, but it's all part of the bigger picture and the life that I want to have, the things I want to be able to experience. And I think that's what pushes me on and that's what spurs me on. I'm quite competitive, so I don't like to lose. And I don't see a failure as a loss. I see it as a lesson unless you stop. If you quit, yeah, cool, you're a loser, you lost. But if you kind of push past it, move to the next thing, then yeah, you're probably not going to lose in the long run. Yeah, I don't know how deep-rooted the answer was, but that's what I've got, yeah.
So with your personalities, traits, etc., do you think men and women are equal?
Another tricky question, isn't it? Speaking from my own experience, if you know how to play it, if you know how to communicate, it's kind of there for the taking. From my perspective, okay, I'm quite confident in terms of my communication, and I know that, which helps me to get myself in the right places and helps me to do what I do and do it successfully. So comparing that to, it doesn't have to be always that it's men or women. It's what's inside you and what are you prepared to give more than anything that's going to keep you down. I wouldn't say I've particularly lost out on things because I'm a woman. People will be who they are to anybody. Yes, I do have men that think I'm not doing what I'm doing and think that I might not be able to handle it. But fine, I just won't do business with them. It doesn't matter.
What about in a relationship?
In terms of,
do you think men and women are like equal in a relationship, or how does the dynamics work? Because the world's changing very differently to maybe where you saw your mum and dad.
Yeah, I mean, my
them
mum's a
time.
strong woman, so she will rule the roost, kind of thing, and she's not afraid to do it. She's always been a grafter as well. So,
you're quite a strong-minded woman, like from what I can see. You're motivated. Like a lot of guys must be intimidated by that.
Maybe. Yeah. That's a really tricky question. In a relationship, well, no, because at the end of the day, that's a partnership. So you've got to understand, okay, fine. Maybe if you're in a relationship and it's two very competitive people and both people enjoy the public side of things, and maybe it could spark a level of competition. But I always think the best thing in a relationship is when you have opposites and when you know what you're good at and you know what you're good at, and then you come together and you meet in the middle. And I think that's what creates something quite special. So, me and my partner, we both do the business together. We're both in the business together, but he's more in the background. Now, it doesn't mean he's doing anything less than I am. He's still doing all the sites, he's still acquiring the projects, still doing the deals. But he maybe doesn't like being on the camera all the time. Well, cool, I don't mind, I enjoy it. Or I enjoy being out there, I enjoy that side of things. And then there's not that level of competition. You've kind of both got the best interest at heart to bring it together. So yeah, I always think it depends on the person. I'm just not going to kind of, for example, yesterday when I was at that event and I was speaking and we were all in a room before And it was me and it was all the other guys and everyone was talking about what they're doing. And at one point I was sitting back and I was feeling a little bit nervous. And yes, I was slightly feeling intimidated, I would say, because, they were going into certain things that maybe I hadn't dealt with before and bigger numbers than what I had dealt with, for example. And I thought, oh gosh, am I a bit nervous? Am I this? But I still went out there and gave absolutely everything I could and held my own. And from what people have told me, it was reciprocated really well. So I'm not the kind of person that's going to let fear hold me back from doing what I want to do or let intimidation hold me back. If anything, it's going to push me to do more and prove my point, so to speak. Yeah.
What do you think about technology right now? AI, artificial intelligence to help you help analyze deals and research, or people are being replaced by machines and stuff. What's your thoughts and feelings about that?
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a really, really interesting subject. And I spend quite a bit of time looking at the pros and the cons. I think if you want to be ahead of the curve or you want to kind of keep going and not miss out, you can't be scared of it. You have to use it. You have to get on board with it. I've used AI for certain things. I've not found it the most amazing for certain things, but I can see how valuable it can be when used correctly. It's something I should be more involved in, and I will be. At the end of the day, I don't think you can fully replace human connection. I think that's a very big part of the business, and it is of what I do. A lot of people buy from people ultimately at the end of the day. So you do need to have that personal touch. If I'm speaking to my clients, it is me that they're getting. And I think that's very important. If you're negotiating, if you're doing certain things, if you're bringing a client on board, they need a person. They need someone to speak to. They can put the trust in, because you're not just investing in thin air. Depending, you know what I mean? You are investing in a person, the belief someone's buying this deal off me and signing up to my project management agreement because they believe that I'm going to deliver on that. Do you know what I mean? So that has to be personal. I don't think you can ever replace that. But I do think that more and more and more technology is going to take its steps. And I probably am a little bit old school in a way that I wouldn't say I massively rely on new ways of technology in terms of when I'm analysing a deal. I do things old school way. I pick up the phone to the agents and I have conversations, and I look on sites and I look on Rightmove, and I do a lot of it naturally. And I do run it through some sites sometimes, like property data and things like that. But 9 times out of 10, I don't trust that valuation, purely for the fact that they might not know that specific area. Like Paul, who's worked in that letting agents for the last 20 years, that's sold 15 houses on that street. So for me, that's my connection in terms of that always goes back to human connection and working with people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do have to, I believe we do have to embrace AI as well, because humans do make errors, but then at the same time, it is quite a personal touch, isn't it? Have you looked at metaverse at all?
Slightly, but it kind of boggles my mind a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people are like buying land on this virtual platforms and stuff,
It's crazy. It's
is.
bizarre. You can kind of see it because you see so many of the dystopian films. You see it all, and
Yeah.
I can see it taking off. I can see it happening.
Yeah. Really interesting, because people say even on a piece of your land, you could put a billboard on, and then you can even call Adriana's properties in there. So when people are like playing Fortnite or something, they're going through this land, they're like, oh, Adriana's property. Oh, okay, cool. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
It is cool, isn't it? Like, I know. How what do you think of it? Do you think it's going to become a fully engrossed way of our life? Or?
I definitely think technology is on the rise, and it's going to get more and more and more. I mean, like even advertising, marketing, people are going, well, use this AI with this AI. And come on, like even Chat GPT, if I wanted to want to know how to run this podcast today, be like, right, I'm meeting a property developer in the northeast of England. Give me 10 questions. It will give it to me. Do you know what I even done? So the other day I wanted to make a little wrap up, and I was like, tell me something in this location in Brentwood to do with this name, Sean, and write me a rap. It writ a whole rap out in under 5 seconds. I was like,
It
what?
is cool.
Yo,
It
I'm
is.
telling you, and it all rhymed bars, and I was like, damn, like I could have a single out. Do you know what? There was actually there was a Drake song out that went to #1. Yeah, but guess what? Drake didn't even sing it. Somebody used his voice.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is, when they can do that, it's insane, isn't it?
I know, and people go, yo, that's a dope song. And it's like, nah, Drake's trying to sue these people. Like, they've gone to #1. Nobody could even find out who did that.
Insane.
Like,
It was a Taylor Swift one, wasn't there, as well, with like the images and things like that.
Yes.
And the
Oh,
doctoring.
mate.
It's scary.
It is scary.
It's really scary.
I'm telling
If it's in the wrong hands.
Exactly. And like, you know, I've thought of many different designs as how do you use that for the good. And I've always like looking at like children who need care and attention,
Okay.
and certain people they don't listen to. And I thought, how amazing would it be if you could make an avatar in the metaverse, and it could be just like a psychologist there, but it's actually 50 Cent coming in the building, yo, homie, come take a seat. I gotta give you some advice. Like, you know, like
Oh,
imagine
that's cool.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that kid would be like, yo, you understand me, you can speak to me, you know what I mean?
Oh, I like that. I like that.
So wanna play a game?
Yes.
Let's play a little game. So it's not Bruce's prices right, it's Sean's prices right, and that's free. We like the word free. And I did a tiny little bit of research in the market that even I didn't even know about. So you can actually get a property for free in certain countries. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Yeah. Well, you're gonna tell me.
Okay.
I might give you the first letter as a clue. Let's see if you can guess it.
I already know the answer to this question.
Go on.
Is it somewhere in Italy?
Well, there is one place in Italy. Yeah.
There is one place in Italy.
There's a place in
Oh
Italy.
God, I can't remember the name of it, but I know it's in Italy.
Well, I haven't made it that difficult. I'm just going to name the country, and maybe the viewers at home can do a little bit more research. But there's certain places that where the population is really, really low, or there's an aging population where there's not many people to regenerate that area. And some of these places I was really shocked at because they're beautiful places, but the government will actually give you some money, give you your property to live in these countries to get the population back up. All right. So I've got 10 countries here. You've got one of them, Italy. Do you want to have another go on another country?
Yes. Somewhere in China?
I haven't got that on the list,
I
unfortunately.
don't know. I'm thinking back to my aging population.
Yeah, true. You know, China's got a bloody a population in itself. It's like the second largest, like, you know, people in the world. They live in cages in there.
Yeah,
have you seen some of them
scary.
places?
So-
Like you have a room with cages
It's tiny, tiny, tiny what you're living in.
with a little fitted TV in there. And
Oh my
that's
God.
crazy. Go on, have
That's
another
not
go.
it. Oh God, well, I need to
Think-
think about the map.
I'd say let's go more Europe first. Let's see.
More
if there's-
Europe. Okay.
Okay. There's one country with G.
Germany?
No, just in your history now.
Yeah, I know. The problem is I'm now freezing on the spot. Bulgaria,
No, keep going.
Brazil.
No. Okay, let me give you a clue. All right, so
It's
let's
not going well, is it?
C.
C. Chile.
Hey!
Ah, that was a good one. Chile. Okay.
Chile's got one.
Okay, so South America, kind of.
Yes. I.
Italy. We already did that one.
We've got that one. There's
Um,
another one with I.
Iceland.
Next.
No.
What if I do the little bit of an accent?
Ireland.
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 Yeah. Okay. Another.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even there's places in Ireland apparently. Yes. Another cold place next to America.
Canada.
Canada.
Oh, so Canada's so gorgeous, but it's so vast, so maybe that's why.
Yes. What's near Italy? Come on, with a G. Well, everyone goes there.
Should I turn the question around? I'll ask the question instead.
No, don't do that. Well, Greece.
Oh, Greece.
Come
I've
on.
spent so much time in Greece.
Oh,
My mind
mate.
just went blank
I'm telling
completely.
you, you're
I can see
overthinking
that.
it.
I can see that, to be fair.
Mhm.
There's areas of where my parents met, for example, now being back there, and it's quite derelict. It used to be like the party area.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no one there anymore.
There's nothing I can think of like better.
No.
No people.
No
You
people,
know what I
free
mean?
houses.
Yeah, exactly. Free
Beaches.
houses. Give me a bit of land. Let me grow my fruit and
Yeah.
veg. What do you
Nice.
think about like, GM, genetically modified? Like more and more people are getting cancers. More and more people are getting diseases, and it all seems to be stemming from food.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? I mean, so part of me, I'm really into my fitness and I'm into my health,
Yes.
and I love cooking. So I'm very much try and make as unprocessed food as I possibly can.
Brilliant. What sort of food do you cook?
To be fair, now in an ideal world, I'd cook a lot of Italian food,
Mm.
but it's like 90% carbs. So
Carbs, oof.
yeah, I know, but it's so tasty. So
Right. Adriana, I'm coming round your house. I'm
yeah,
hungry. I'm
yeah,
on a low sugar, no carb diet at the moment. What are you cooking me?
low sugar, no carb. Okay, so we're gonna go for nice seasoned chicken breast. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna go for like a garlic, salty garlic, crispy kale
Hey.
with some sweet potatoes, some
Come
chopped
on.
broccoli, a little bit of lemon, honey as a
Wow.
dressing. Gonna go for that.
Wow.
Maybe a bit of quinoa if you can have a bit of carbs. Have that on top. Fresh lemon. Nice.
Wow. So
Easy meal.
is this what you've learned from the restaurant business or what?
Well, I learned to cook from having Italian parents, but I definitely didn't learn about the no carb diet from. But no, I try and eat as clean as I can because it is scary. You know, you listen to a lot of things about what this GM is doing and what's being given to you, and it seems as though now everything is just done at mass and it's done without thought, and it's just how can I get to the consumer as quickly as possible and then keep them there. You know, it's even things like the MSG and the things like that they put on the takeaway foods to keep people coming back to it and wanting more. But the problem is now is I think everything has become about convenience. So I'm on the go a lot. So I naturally now I've been in London all week. So I found myself of, okay, cool, and I can go to a nice restaurant and sit down and enjoy it nice. But other than that, I'm going for meal deals. I'm going and I'm picking up something as quick as I possibly can just to eat on the go. But I feel crap after it. You do. So yeah, it's I watch quite a bit on social media, and there's such a contradictory though of you don't know what's good and what's bad because everybody has an opinion these days. So I think it's really, really hard to kind of navigate what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. So I just think try and keep it as simple as you can.
Keep it simple.
Simple, keep it simple. Yeah,
That's what we're saying. Okay, nice. How important is the gym to you?
very. Yeah.
How often do you go?
5 days a week.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's quite hardcore.
It is. It is. I my gym's really cool, to be fair. It's they're almost like group kind of PT sessions, but it's not as if you were going to a class and you go and you're lifting the small weights. Like you are pushed to the limits. It's called no limits. So you are pushed to your limits every time. But I feel so good for doing it.
Nice.
So I train. I've nailed my routine now. It's 7 a.m. slot. So we go there. You do an hour, and your day's set up.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
What's your split? Is it just pure weight training? Is
No.
it cardio?
Yeah, it's both. It's both. I think I need to have the balance. So 3 days a week is weights, but there will always be some kind of heavy sled pushes in there as well to just like really kill you off. And then 2 days cardio. Try and run. I've been doing some cold water swimming because we've got the nice beaches in Newcastle. So I've been swimming in the sea.
Wow.
Yeah, that's been fun. Like you come out and you're just smiling. You've got this big smile on your face.
Not when you're
it.
dipping it in though.
No. To be fair, it was hard the first few times that you come out there and you're red. You're just like glowing. And then you're really hot, like when the adrenaline's out at the start, and then as soon as you leave, you just like shaking.
Yeah. Wow.
But no, it's important. It is. I need a way to clear my mind. I'm not massively into kind of. I should be more something meditation or journaling as a way of like closing off. So for me, that's training. That's going to the gym. It's like that's my place where nobody can distract me. I'm there, I just focus on myself, and I need that in order to feel like I'm successful and setting up.
Well, is it any specific message that you wanted to get out of this podcast today? If someone's watching, what are you telling that person?
Yeah, I would say it probably goes back to what my kind of philosophy has been throughout of don't give up. Um, don't be afraid to change strategies. If you're going down one route and maybe either you don't actually enjoy it that much, it's fine. You might be making money, but you might not be really loving it. Don't be afraid to step back and rethink, or you're doing something and it's not quite working out. You're not failing. You're just starting fresh, taking the knowledge you've learned and going on to the next. And yeah, don't be afraid to give up. Don't be afraid to give up. No, never give up. Keep pushing through. Keep pushing through. Learn from everything. See every single thing that goes wrong as an opportunity to learn. Take from that. I started when I was going through kind of a bit of a ropey phase. I started doing my lessons from the month. So every month at the end of the month, I'd write down all the lessons I'd learned that month. And now I can sort of flick through it and think, oh, do you know what? It saved me so much money now. And oh, do you know what? This has helped. So be aware of your failures. Be aware of how you solved it, and never ever give up. Is probably the message that I always give.
Nice. And what's next for Adriana?
Massive focus on building out my own portfolio now. So acquiring HMO conversions for myself, working with my joint venture partners, working with lending and building out that way. Massively expanding the projects that we're doing in the Northeast, so client projects. And just keep building that out. Meeting lots of new people and really just focusing on the North as an investment area and helping myself and my clients to realise the profits there. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to see your journey. Adriana, if you can look straight into your camera and just let everybody know how they can follow you or what sort of things you've got happening.
Yeah, so the best way to see my journey and see what I'm doing is my social media, which is just Adriana Cafasso _. On there, you'll kind of see, the projects I'm doing, what's going on. If you want to work directly with myself, there is ways of booking a call. That's all either on my website, AC Property Sourcing, or the links in my bio, where you can book a call and we can, look to working together and get an investment underway that way. But yeah, that's the best best way to find me in terms of what's going on at the minute is we do a lot of work either with, the raising finance side of things. So working with you guys to build out a profit or working to build out your investments throughout the North, leverage and off of myself and my power team.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you really enjoyed that at home, guys. If you did, don't forget to smash the like button. Leave Adriana a question. I make sure she gets it. We get it answered. And don't forget to share this with a friend or a family who really might want to see this. But yeah, that's it for this week, guys. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.